world-class astrologer, tarot master, spellcaster, and all-around magical being. I'm here today on December 1st to talk about something that at times this year we thought would never come, the end of 2020 and all of the negativity and awfulness it brought. It also brought some really good things, and we need to take a look at it. I call December the month of summary. Um, it's a great time to summarize everything you've experienced, everything you've gone through, what you've learned, what you're glad you learned, and what you're not so glad you learned. This is the time to take a look and see what the value of this year has been and will continue to be until the 31st of December for you. It will also continue to be evaluated this year, 2020, for a very long time to come. So let's jump in. We really have to start December with November because this is December 1st, but yesterday, November 30th, we had a full moon and a lunar eclipse. And full moon energy is an energy that just falls over everything. It's like a veil and it totally envelops everything. Full moon insists on bringing everything up and out with lots of emotion and lots of heat, lots of activity. And an eclipse is a powerful thing. A lunar eclipse, they come during the full moons, not every full moon, but they come several times a year. A lunar eclipse literally brings out what has got to be discarded, what must be released or let go of. We see things for what they are. We don't necessarily like what we see all the time because the personal reflection is not always as flattering as our egos would like it to be. However, the exchange of the false ego's view of yourself and what you really are and what your value really is well worth it. Now, then, let's talk about what this month is going to bring us. Several things. Um, Another eclipse, but a solar eclipse this time. Saturn leaving the sign of its own sign of Capricorn and going into Aquarius, and Jupiter leaving the sign of Capricorn and going into Aquarius at about the same time, and an amazing Jupiter Saturn conjunction on the solstice. Now, I'll explain what all of that is as I go along. So let's start with today. Today is December 1st, and today the planet Mercury, the planet of communication, the planet of how we gather and process our thoughts and information, that is moving from Scorpio, from deep, uh, investigative, intense Scorpio into a lighter way of operating, Sagittarius. So, with Mercury in Sagittarius, the focus and the concentration you had with Mercury in Scorpio, it's not there because that's not how Sagittarius, and certainly not how Mercury in Sagittarius operates. So, it's an interesting time for us. Let your thoughts be light. Stay tuned in because Sagittarius is also the sign that has direct communication with the divine. Allow yourself to be more expansive in your thoughts. Allow yourself to be more open and trusting in your thoughts. Allow yourself to have hope because Sagittarius is about expansion and blessings and about being present for the presents that are being given to us. When you're motivated by Sagittarius, you are motivated by a truth. The important thing to know with Mercury and Sagittarius is every great thought that crosses your mind is not necessarily a thought that needs to be shared. I've said this about Mercury and other signs, and it's especially true with Mercury and Sagittarius. Mercury and Sagittarius often has foot in mouth. I know I have Mercury and Sagittarius in my chart. And you can say things with greatest intention and certainly with a loving attitude, but it can come out in some fiery way that singes other people. Sagittarius is a fire sign. So you want to be careful to watch how you speak, to watch how you're thinking. Just because it's very clear to you doesn't necessarily mean it's that clear to other people. And perhaps we need enough flowery energy around it, whatever your great thought, your great insight is, before you begin sharing it with other people. On December 9th, we have actually the 9th through the 11th. But notice how we skipped from the 1st to the 9th. The last few months, it's been almost every day something happening. Be relieved, be relieved. It's an intense month, but not the way it was in the past. So December 9th through 11th, we have the Sun, which is in Sagittarius, conjunct, which means together with the South Node, which is not a planet, but it's an important point. The South Node is shaped like a cup, and it holds all of the information about you, what you've done, what you haven't done, who you know from past lives, from all of your past lives. The Sun is together with the South Node, and they are both squared, making an abrasive aspect to the planet Neptune, the planet of the soul, the planet of all of our souls combined, the planet of prayer, and the planet of illusion and deception and self deception, the planet of creativity, too. So, what you have to do is you have to be aware of how to use all of these energies. So, several years ago, there was a commercial for a cassette, and it was called a Memorex cassette. And the commercial, the tagline was, "Is it real or is it Memorex?" Well, when the Sun squares Neptune, you need to ask yourself, is it real or is this something I'm making up or something I remember that's not really connected to what I've decided must be the truth? You really have to ask yourself that all the time, especially when you've got a square, the Sun square Neptune. You're not able to see clearly without taking a moment, without saying, I need to consciously look at things and look at myself and see what's going on. I need to see, I need to think about it, I need to feel, I need to move carefully because you're not always going to be as right on as Sun square Neptune would have you believe you are. You need to be very careful. There will be old ideas and old people and old dreams and old nightmares and old everything will want to come up for you. Sort through those things carefully. The South Node is involved, hence the old everything. Sort through the cares, sort through the ideas that come up, sort through the people that come back into your life, whether in person or in another form, sort through those old relationships, and sort through them with an eye to setting aside, i.e., discarding what's no longer important or necessary in your life, no matter how much fun it was. You basing what you're doing now on how things worked 5, 10, 15 years ago, or even earlier this year. Remember, January and February and most of March, we all had plans. But by the middle of March, we all knew plans had changed. So the ideas and the plans you had up until about the middle of March are included in that South Node, that cup. And it's time to examine them from where you are now. Is this still valid and does it still have great value from where I am now? Then we move on to December 14th, and that is the new moon. And there's an eclipse with this new moon, just as there was an eclipse with the full moon yesterday. 2 weeks from now, on the 14th, there will be an eclipse, but it will be a solar eclipse. New moon eclipses are called solar. New moon eclipses bring things in, whereas full moon eclipses, lunar eclipses, remove things, take them away, take them out. So on this new moon eclipse, we also have the South Node uh, taking a part, a really active, powerful part in this. Generally, when we have a new moon or a solar eclipse, we don't have old things coming in. We're busy letting old things go. But in this case, this with the south node coming in with the lunar is examine the things you need to examine with a new eye, with an eye to refining, with an eye to perhaps, as I said before, letting things go. What do you need to clean up is what you ask yourself around this upcoming new moon on the 14th. What do you need to take a good look at and be honest about? You have a lot happening here. Also, we're going to have Mercury involved in this. A lot is going to be going on. So, Mercury is how you're thinking. The South Node, old things. The new moon, a new chance to start fresh. And as always, 3 days before the new moon, I like to start 3 days before it. You can start the day before if that works for you, or 2 days. 3 days before, so on the 11th, you will set out your glass or your cup for moon water. And that means making sure that you put that glass cup container in the windowsill so that it can bring in the energy of the new moon. And always remember to cover that glass or cup or container because critters do crawl in. You could say, well, I'm in the house, what's going to crawl in? Don't worry, they'll find a way. So if you'd like to set your container outside, make sure that it can't be knocked over by critters, and make sure that it can't that critters can't find their way in as well. The energy that goes into the moon water on a new or a full moon is so empowering, and let that be a part of you. After 2 or 3 days of the new moon, then sip that water. You can sip it, you can just drink it outright. You can use it for cooking or for watering your plants. You can pour a few drops into your bath water. It's pretty powerful. And as somebody reminded me, you can actually take that water and spread that out for a long time by pouring, like homeopathy, pouring the new moon water into a larger container of water, and you've got a lot more, and it goes a long way. On December 15th, see how things are now beginning to come together and pick up. So the first part of the month, things are going to be a little slow, which is good. We need that. It's an intense month. The end of the year, one, a lot of holidays, two. It's an intense month. December 15th, we have the planet Venus, the planet of relationships, the planet of values, especially self value, the planet of healing, the planet of harmony, the planet of balance. We have Venus moving from Scorpio, from very intense, introspective Scorpio, to very light and airy, as in just light and not caring, Sagittarius. When I say not caring, I mean not being so involved in what is going on, but letting things flow, Sagittarius. That's what happens. We also have, when Venus goes direct, just, and when, I'm sorry, when Venus goes into Sagittarius on the 15th, enjoy the process, enjoy the ride. Sagittarius is expansive. Sagittarius is a great gift. Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter, which has been called the limitless cornucopia of endless good. So let yourself feel good and in harmony with your life. It may not be the life you would have planned. I mean, look at this year. Who would have planned this? But let yourself be in harmony with life. Something else happens on that day, on the 15th, is the asteroid Chiron. Chiron is not a planet, but it is an important point in the chart. And Chiron, who is called the wounded healer, goes into it goes direct. That is to say, it was going within. It was causing us to really need to look at ourselves, need to heal something on an inner level, bringing up and bringing out a lot of things. Well, it's going to go forward on that day. So all that you've gathered, all that you've looked at, all that you've examined, all that you know you're ready to deal with consciously, and some of that dealing is setting it aside, letting it go. Some of that dealing is owning your greatness, that now you're ready to go forward with that. You're ready to move forward with that. You're ready to move forward with your life and to let that old wound heal itself by your moving forward with ease. On December 17th, we have a big thing happening, very big thing happening. On December 17th, the planet Saturn, which is the planet of Saturn, is an interesting planet. It's the taskmaster planet. It's the planet that says, I know you may not want to, but this is really what's best for you. Saturn is, I like to say that Saturn is that teacher that you hated in school, but when you win the award, that teacher is the first person you thank. Because without having gone through an experience with that teacher, you wouldn't have learned what you needed to learn to be successful. Saturn is responsibility. Saturn is also restriction, which is a lot of how we make ourselves have to learn when we're in an immature state. Uh, and by that, I mean, we all know that there are things that we need to do. We all know that there are things that we could use ourselves, our energy in a different way. But until we really have to, most of us don't. So Saturn comes along and says, I'm now going to restrict the freedom you had in the way you had it, and which is going to force you to take another look at how you operate. That restriction will cause you to mature in how you deal with your life, deal with yourself. So Saturn will leave its own sign of Capricorn on December 17th and enter into the sign Aquarius. And here is a not really acknowledged fact about Saturn. Saturn rules the sign of Capricorn. We all know that. Saturn is also a co-ruler of the sign Aquarius. So it's not really leaving its own sign. It is going over, it's going into a new sign so that it can operate in a different way. But Saturn still says discipline's important and some type of restriction is important. And it's doing it in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius loathes restriction. So, how to use discipline to apply the necessary restrictions so that you get the hoped for results. That's the quiz for this time. And Saturn's going to be in Aquarius for 2.5 years because Saturn is in every sign for about 2.5 years. And in that time, we're going to do a lot of growing, but we're going to do a lot of liberating growing. The growing we've been doing when Saturn was in its own sign, Capricorn, has been restrictive growing. But now we're ready to stretch and we're ready to show ourselves and the world what we've grown to be and how we've matured. This is a good thing. Your communication is very important. And Saturn in Aquarius is really, it'll help us determine how to break through existing structures that were not positive. Um, because all structures are not bad. Some structures have just outlived their usefulness. And Saturn in Aquarius comes along and tells us how to rid ourselves of structures that have outlived their usefulness. So, we are learning new ways to communicate because that's one of the things that this virus has brought us. It brought us not new ways to communicate, it brought us the opportunities to find new ways to communicate because of the restrictions the virus imposed. As we look back in time, every time in the history of the world, Saturn has been in Aquarius, which is about every 28 years. We have had important freedom issues, freedom, um, civil rights, the peace movement, women being more liberated. And by the way, if women are more liberated, so can men be more liberated if they'll go along with it and not fight the process. Then on December 19th, So on the 17th, Saturn enters Aquarius. On December 19th, another big thing happens. Jupiter enters Aquarius. Wow. So when you have planets leaving Capricorn, which Saturn and Jupiter are doing, you have to look at all of the controlled, centralized Capricorn structures that we have worshiped in a sense, that we have nurtured and kept growing and ruling over us. All of those will begin to collapse. They've already begun to collapse. We've seen that, but they will begin to collapse even more. And I'm not saying in the next 2.5 years everything changes. I'm saying in the next 2.5 years, we're going to begin to see how everything has been changing, continues to change, and will change. Because that passage through Aquarius, it's one of those moments in life when you can say, oh, I know where I was when that happened. Just as you will say about this entire year, you will be able to say that about various points over the next 2.5 years. So, December 19th, Jupiter leaves Capricorn. Jupiter's expansion, it's direct communication with the divine, it's luck, it's blessings, it's the great philosopher. So Jupiter also rules other. When we had Jupiter in Capricorn, we had an administration that sought to demonize the other. And so Capricorn, they were using an old way of thinking. It's us against them, when in reality, we're all us. And Jupiter in Aquarius, Aquarius is about us. Aquarius is the humanitarian side. Aquarius doesn't say, oh, you're different, therefore I'm better. Aquarius says, we are all one. And with Jupiter going to Aquarius, definitely start looking for, in this 2.5 year period, noticing that a lot of the restrictions we've got here and a lot of the restrictions we have in our hearts and in society in general, that those are dissipating. Um, I would make a wish because Aquarius is anything can happen. And I like anything can happen. I'm one of those people who says, wow, look at that. That's new. And Jupiter is your wish come true. What wish do you want? I'd make a wish. The December 19th, Jupiter enters Aquarius. Make a wish. Saturn also enters Aquarius. That means your wishes will be solid. Your wishes can manifest into something. So make a wish. Why not? And Jupiter is the planet that sets the topics and the trends and the focus for the year. So the topics, the trends, and the focus for 2021 will be set by Jupiter in Aquarius. More humanitarian interest, more anything can happen, more genius, more inventiveness. You are totally more alive. Be a humanitarian. I love the quote, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. That's what this will be saying to us. So, December 20th and 21st, big doings on those days. The winter solstice on the 21st of December. That's the entry into a new phase, and that's the introspective phase. Pardon me, that's the nurturing phase. So set the tone and the time for the introspective season. This is our winter nesting season. Nesting, introspection, our nurturing season. Truly, we will go in and we'll feed ourselves with the most natural elements of the earth, because that's what seeds and plants do. Allium plants, bulb plants, feed themselves. That's when you plant them. You generally in fall or late fall, you plant them so that they can hibernate over the winter and take in everything they need to take in over the winter so that when the spring comes, they can grow. And that's what you want to do during this winter season. Starts on the 21st of December. You want to make sure that you're there for the solstice. Have a little solstice ceremony. Enjoy the fact that you've entered into, this is the season. Now, already it's a holiday season. So, in many different cultures, many different religions will be celebrating this season anyway. Be aware that this is a time when you can literally pour more nutrients on you, on your hopes and your wishes, on what you want next year to be and to be like. December 21st is definitely, as I said, it's the solstice time. The sun enters Mercury, sun and Mercury, the sun, the life force of our planet, Mercury, how we gather and process information, they will be entering the sign of Capricorn. So this is a where we mean business time as far as creating ourselves, nurturing our souls, seeing what we've got, being true to the fact that truly a season has begun and an old age has passed. We are entering, in a way, a new year. There's several new years every year, and this is one. It's the end of the old, it's the beginning of the new with that December 21st solstice. Um, Also on the 21st, Jupiter conjunct Saturn. That means conjunct means coming together. That means one powerful force is coming together with another powerful force to combine their powerful forces, and you can really create something with that. So this is a monumental shift in how things work in our universe, definitely on our planet. And it's a monumental shift. And it really is about acknowledging that and seeing and being a part of and wanting to help just dismantle what does not work in those old controlled trickle down economy. And you know that trickle down means you're not getting any. And that kind of trickle down economy mindset. It's time to come up with another way of distributing our wealth, our mental, our physical, our emotional, our spiritual wealth. A new way, a way that enriches everyone. It'll be really, it's one of the beginnings, in a way, depending on how your belief system, it is the official beginning of the age of Aquarius, the age of the humanitarian. The age we're coming from, the age of Pisces, the age of great suffering, often caused by self, and going into the age of Aquarius, which is sharing. It's about sharing. It's about knowing that there's enough. And we know there's enough because there's always enough. And all we have to do is be more generous with ourselves and with others. So you have to remember that certain things happen during the time of when major planets are in Aquarius. The ruling god for Aquarius, there are two. One is Athena, who is the goddess of wisdom and intellect. She's phenomenal. And the other is Prometheus, who gave fire to humans, which changed the course of our lives. And fire isn't just that physical thing, fire is inspiration. Without inspiration, life would be dull. So, this is a time, new things. Aquarius rules invention, it rules electronics, it rules humanitarians working together. It's about now, is about that ideal world we want. This is when it begins. Then we move on to December 23rd. And on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, 2 days before high emotion, 2 days before high energy, high passion, Christmas, uh, we have Mars, the planet of how we take action, in an abrasive aspect to its parent, Pluto. So Mars has been called a baby Pluto, and anything can happen. Passions run high, they run deep. Um, a lot of logic and sense. We don't really use that when Mars and Pluto start interacting, and we need to use that. So be careful. December 23rd, so about 2 or 3 days leading up to the 23rd, to about, let's say, Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas, be careful. This is an emotional time anyway, and you have Mars square Pluto. Very passionate time. You can get a lot done creatively. Make sure that what you say and how you behave isn't something you have to pay for, for years or for forever. Make sure that people feel good about being around you. And that is determined by you feeling good about being around yourself. Even if you don't feel good about yourself, make something up. Say, well, at least and go with that. Because otherwise, the passion and the fire and the craziness of Mars square Pluto will get you into deep trouble. When all of that power of Mars square Pluto could lead you to some great insights and discoveries and powerful, powerful, powerful ways of seeing how passionate you are and using that passion to create the world and the life you want. And then finally, on the 29th and 30th of December, we have the full moon in Cancer. So we have a full moon. We have every 28 or so days we have a full moon. So we had a full moon yesterday, November 30th. We will have a new moon 2 weeks later, December 14th, and 2 weeks from that, thereabouts, we're going to have another full moon. And this is the last full moon of the year. This is the year when we just really need to nurture ourselves. This last full moon is in the sign of Cancer, the sign of nurturing. We need to nurture ourselves. We need to count our blessings. We need to mourn what we have lost, and we need to really celebrate what we have given birth to. This is a great time. Now, this full moon is also going to have Venus, remember relationships, self value, harmony, balance, is going to be together with the South Node, that cup that contains the everything you've ever been and ever done, and it's going to be square Neptune. So, again, you're being told ask if it's real. Does this thing have value to you today? I know it was great in your favorite in the past, but does it have value to you now? Does it have value to you going forward? And not just that imagine, well, I've had this since I was, but does it have value? This is a time to pretend that you have to take only your most beloved belongings. That's all you can take with you. And then choose wisely. Friends, relationships, your relationship with yourself as well. Um, Objects, emotions, values. So that square to Neptune is a big part of why you need to be very clear to choose wisely, because Neptune will speak to you in ways that seduce you into thinking what isn't happening is happening, and what is happening isn't happening. Neptune will make things up and convince you that those things are true. You need to ask yourself, well, is this real? As I said before, is it real or is it Memorex? So things are not what they seem. Stay conscious, set your intentions, and set your commitment to honoring these intentions and making them come true, to manifesting your dreams. We are, pardon me, moving into the age of Aquarius, and we're moving into a time when anything can happen, and that anything can be great, grand, glorious, good, and wonderful. So, happy December, happy winter solstice, happy age of Aquarius, happy New Year, and really thrilled and happy and excited that 2020 is at an end. Many blessings to you.